But like I said before this recording started, there are three main strategies that we're going to review fairly quickly, and it all has to do with helping you solve proportions. Number one, you may have heard of this, cross, multiply, and divide. And that's really the most popular way that people have been taught. It's a surefire way to get it done. The only downside is that it might not always be the quickest way to do things. So everybody, just to kind of preface this and get your minds geared to what I'm talking about, everybody, true or false, there's only one way to solve a math problem. Glad we understand. Yeah, that is entirely false. There is always more than one way to get a math problem solved. Some ways are very, very, very guaranteed, but very, very, very slow, like using your fingers to count. Other methods are a lot faster. Let's supposedly say mental math that save us time, but are a little riskier. It takes a little more time to get there. But we're going to be talking about the main method for proportions first, cross multiplication and division. But then I'm going to show you two other ideas, vertical simplification and horizontal simplification, that basically comes from simplifying fractions. If you've ever simplified a fraction before, this is going to make sense. So we're going to get to it in a bit. But with that said, let's take our main notes. So for those of you that have been used to me going through the arithmetic reasoning and the math knowledge, complete review classes, this is going to be a little different, especially if you just joined recently. But when it comes to arithmetic reasoning, every single topic that you come across is going to have a main idea. Not a formula, yes, they could have a formula, maybe they don't. But every single topic, you're guaranteed to have a main idea. And what I mean by a main idea is a main rule that governs that entire topic. If you follow that rule always, you'll always win. And if you know that you're following the rule the right way, you can guarantee that you'll get these problems right. So in red, right over here, you see that it says proportions, the main idea, compare the same things in the same way. I want you to go ahead and write that down right now, because that's pretty much 40% of the conversation that we're going to have today. Just that one sentence. Compare the same things in the same way. You get that down, you're going to have yourself a good time. So I'm going to give you about 20, 30 seconds to write that down in your paper there. Write it down as big and bold as you want to at the top of your page, because we're going to be referring to that a lot. And once you're ready, just type ready in the chat box. Good. Give it a few more moments. Cool. All right. So with that said, for those of us that are sitting here saying, hey, man, what are proportions to begin with? What am I looking at? So basically what a proportion is just an equation. An equation that instead of having, like a 2x plus 1 equals 10, a proportion is pretty much just saying this fraction equals this fraction. So a proportion is basically just saying two fractions that are the same, or two ratios that are the same. Either way, it's the same exact thing. So again, right here, what are proportions? Two fractions that are the same. So for example, everybody, is it true that 1/2 is the same as, let's say, 5/10? Is that true? I appreciate it, Junior. Yeah, so if I had 1/2 and 5/10, yes, those fractions are indeed the same. And what you're basically asking is, if you compare the top and the bottom, is it the same relationship? Everybody, 1 is half of 2. I think we can all see that. But the follow-up question is 5 half of 10? 1 is half of 2. Is 5 half of 10? Yes, absolutely. And so that's how we can confirm that, yes, these fractions are the same. And that's a proportion. That's it. That's all a proportion is. Two fractions that mean the same thing. And I hope that you start seeing when I say that two fractions that mean the same thing, where compare the same things in the same way is going to start coming into play. We are basically saying in a fraction like math world, hey, the comparison between the top and the bottom of the fractions are the same. If you divide them out, you get the same answer. In English, all that means is compare the same things in the same way. So if I say red, blue in that sentence first, and then in the second sentence, I say blue, red, not going to work out. I'm going to have to rearrange it so I make sure it's red to blue, red to blue. Can anybody get behind that idea? If we just have colors, red, blue, red, blue. If it's yellow, black, then it's yellow, black. We just have to make sure we have the same comparisons in the same way. I know it sounds obvious now, but once we get into the thick of it, that's where it's really going to matter. Cool. All right. So another way that you may have heard fractions being talked about would have been, parts of wholes. And I just have to put that there just in case that's the way you were taught. But proportions are just the same parts out of the same wholes. So again, the same comparisons. But what we're going to do is I'm going to really see if we know how to write this proportion, but also how to write it in different ways, how to see it written down in as many different ways as you need to. So let's go and read through this example here. There are 6 boys for every 10 girls in class. If there are 35 girls in class, then there are 21 boys. Let me go ahead and show you how you can write a proportion that represents this right here. Let me just show you. Number 1, let's take the first sentence right here. There are 6 boys for every 10 girls in class. So I can go ahead and write, 6 boys up top over 10 girls. Now watch this, everybody. In my next sentence, let me actually use black for the equal sign. Now over here, we'll use green. If there are 35 girls in class, then there are 21 boys. Okay, so then what I'll do is I'll write this down. 35 girls over 21 boys. Okay, so visually speaking, without my big old head in the way, let's scroll down just a little bit. Do you see what's wrong right here? Do you see what's wrong? And if so, tell me what's wrong. What's wrong with it? And if so, or like what's wrong with it if you think something's wrong with it? If you don't think something's wrong with it, okay, tell me why. Okay, so I see some of us saying, hey, we're not comparing the same things in the same way. Okay. The number on the top is larger. Well, that's also a very good way mathematically to tell that that's not a valid proportion. Great job. Lewis, thank you. That's a little more clear there. And Junior, appreciate that. And I'm sure a couple of people said it before that, before the chat got flooded. But yes, we're starting to get the idea here in the chat box. And it's going to be this. We have got to, when we say compare the same things in the same way, since the subjects that we're talking about are boys and girls, if we make a proportion, it needs to follow the same order. If we start with boys on top and girls on bottom, it needs to be boys on top, girls on bottom. If we would have started with girls on top and boys on bottom, then it would have needed to be girls on top and boys on bottom. It still works out. We just have to be consistent. Again, the consistency is key. The consistency in the comparison is key. So here's a right way to write it. A right way, we'll be moving this down there, moving this up here. So we have 21 boys, 35 girls on the bottom. Everyone, do you see here clearly now? Do you see this? That we have, hey, boys up top, girls on bottom from that first sentence, boys up top, girls on bottom from the second sentence. Is that making a little more sense? Exactly, Zara. Good. Let's go. Perfect. All right. So now that we have that very fundamental understanding, because again, this is what's key, being able to look at the English and translate the English into math, I'm telling you, that's the biggest key, biggest skill you need to learn. So that's why I'm going to take my sweet time making sure you understand it. So that way, when we kick it into high gear and practice with the word problems, it's a little more comfortable for you. I got you. So that's, again, like I said, one way to write it. If you wanted to, again, you're more than welcome to flip it. You're more than welcome to have put 10 girls on the top, then 6 boys on bottom. so long as you just write the same comparison the same way. 35 girls on top, 21 boys on the bottom. Would have worked out just fine. Now, I want to show you another way that people know it's true, but don't get too much practice on. Here's another way you could have written it down, everybody, and you tell me if this makes sense. You can write, let's go ahead and say 6 boys on top, and then 10 girls on the top on the other side. But on the bottoms, you're still consistent. You go 21 boys on the bottom, 35 girls on the bottom. Everyone, is that still good? Is that still consistent? Is that still consistent? You tell me. The answer is yes. Yeah. So now a lot of us are guessing, but hey, that's good. I want you to work out any bit of misunderstanding, and I want you to put yourself out there because you're not being graded. There's no penalty for trying here, only rewards, honestly. So when you take a look at this still follows that idea. Compare the same things in the same way. We go boys on the left, girls on the right, on the top, and on the bottom, boys on the left, girls on the right. We're doing the same comparison in the same way. Boys are on the left, girls on the right. First sentence up top, second sentence on the bottom. Boom. It's very consistent. The color coordination looks like it matches up too. It's all good. You like that one better, Glenda? Hey, you're perfectly allowed to use it. Perfectly allowed to use it. There's no penalty for that. Yep, definitely still matches up there. So with that said, are we starting to understand or feeling comfortable with the idea of comparing the same things in the same way? Is that settling in a little more there? Claramente. Cool. Sounds good. All right, perfect, guys. So with that said, now let's transition our refreshing brains here. Let's transition this into solving a proportion. Because let's be real, when you look at proportions on the ASVAB itself or any test that you take, you're not going to be seeing that. You're not going to be seeing that. You're not going to be seeing this over here. You're not going to be seeing this over here. No. What you are going to be seeing is something that looks like that, except something's going to be missing. And it's going to be your job to figure out what that missing number is. That's what makes it a little tough, right? That's what makes it a little tough. And beyond that, Delilah, I know my Spanish sucks, but beyond that, what you're going to be able to expect on the ASVAB is just not just having to solve these. No. They don't just want you to solve these. They want you to actually set it up first. Then you got to somehow know that you have the right setup. And then you got to solve it, right? You got to set it up and you have to solve it confidently, all within 2 minutes and about 26 seconds per question. That's going to make things a little nerve-wracking. That's reasonable to say where some test anxiety might come from. So let's learn this. Let's kick this right in the butt. So number one, first things first, I'm going to show you, again, multiple ways to solve. So allow me to do this. Allow me to go ahead and make copies of this page. That way we can go ahead and solve this in more than one way. So that's one, and that's two. Sweet. So let me go ahead and go back here. And let's first start off with cross multiplication and division. All right, that's the main way that everybody's really been taught. So let's go ahead and try it out. Cross, multiply, and divide. Let me write this down for you. Cross, multiply, and divide. So with that, again, what does that mean? Well, all that means, guys, is, again, you're going to crisscross right here, crisscross applesauce. Everybody, 9 times x, what's that going to be? Right? Yeah, 9 times x. You don't know what x is. If you're multiplying, you can just attach those things together, and you're good. 9 times x is 9x. Okay, sounds good. Let's go ahead and put an equal sign there. And now let's go ahead and do the other one. Crisscross right there, 3 times 18. Does everybody here know what 3 times 18 is off the top of their head? I'm going to assume probably not, right? Not everybody, maybe 10 to 25% of us, those that have practiced mental math, for sure. I know who you are. But if you don't know it, that's fine. 18 times 3, let's go ahead and do this on the side. 8 times 3, that's 24. 1 times 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, so we have 54. So that's going to be 9x equals 54. Now, what did I just overemphasize there? I know I was acting. That was a little bit of a theater performance. I suck at acting. But what I was really trying to emphasize was those moments that you take the extra time to calculate. So, quick question. Anybody here who's learned mental math from me, is it worth it? Does it save you time? You tell me. I'm not going to answer the question. Y'all do. For those of y'all that have learned mental math from me, have you been saving time on problems before because of it? Again, you guys take a look at the chat box. I'll let them speak for that, not me. It's worth taking the time to learn how to calculate quickly because every second counts in the test. And every bit of confidence matters when it comes to dealing with numbers, because if you're not confident dealing with numbers, especially being timed and under pressure, that leaves the avenue for that test anxiety to creep its way in. Every single decision you make in your preparation really matters. Mental math, one of the most important things you need to learn. So let's go ahead and keep moving forward. Hopefully I made a point there, but let's solve this problem. The last thing we need to do, as the theory says, is cross multiply and then divide. And I said theory, I meant process. But we're going to go ahead and divide both sides now by 9. And so that's going to go ahead, cancel out right there. And our answer is going to be x equals what, my party people? It's going to be 6. Sounds good. Cool. So there we are. And we're good. So did that make sense, everybody? Was that a nice refresher? Cross multiplying and then dividing. It's a surefire way to solve any proportion. Sometimes it might take a little longer than normal, a little longer than you need to, but it will work as long as you follow the steps. Perfect. And yeah, if you have a question, type it out. I'm going to make sure to keep looking at the chat box. I'll make sure to answer that question. I got you. Oh, no worries, Olivia. No, yeah, it would have been 9 times x and 3 times at. It's all good there. And then dividing at the end. Hey, you're welcome for having the refresher. I got you, Naili. All right. So who here is interested in learning a much faster way to do this problem here? Who's interested? Okay, sounds good. So hopefully math isn't the devil today. Let's go ahead and try this out. And Jocelyn, I'm still looking for your question. I got you. So let's go ahead and do this another way. Let's see what we can do. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. And what I'm going to show you here is it's going to be called vertical comparison. And then I'm also going to show you vertical simplification. These are both the same thing, but I'm going to present them to you as 2 different ideas because you'll see exactly once I show you the second way, you'll be like, oh yeah, coach, that makes total sense. The same thing. You can treat it whichever way you want. It's really fluid. As long as you understand what a fraction is, this is going to make a lot of sense. So vertical comparison, vertical simplification, same idea. And trust me, this is going to help you with much more than just proportions. So everyone, pop quiz time. A couple of slides ago, I introduced proportions to you, and there was a main idea that I had you write down for proportions. I would like to see who can write down that main idea in the chat box and show me that you're paying attention and you want this. What was that main idea about proportions? And Jocelyn, thanks for asking the question. So boys and girls, for example, then put what number they gave you down under them and just simplify to find the answer. Exactly. So the biggest part though, Jocelyn, is the setup, is making sure that it's set up the right way. Yeah. As long as that's set up, boom, you just solve and you're good. But again, the hardest part is making sure you're set up the right way. And thank you, my party people. Yes, the idea was compare the same things in the same way. One more time, I'm going to be annoying and I'm going to lose my voice first. Don't worry. Compare the same things in the same way. Okay. My party people, I got a quick question for you. Uh, when you talk about, 3 and 9, everyone, let's just talk, how do you go from 3 to 9? What would I need to do to 3 to get to 9? And remember, when it comes to fractions, we're only dealing with multiplication or division. So what operation and what numbers? So for example, divide by 12. That would be an example. What we need to do to go from 3 to 9? Okay, great. So you guys are saying, hey, multiply by 3. Okay, so here, look, pay attention. This is how easy it can be. If you notice these convenient situations, you're saying, hey, from 3 to 9, all I got to do is multiply by 3 because 3 times 3 gives me 9. What else does that mean then? Well, if you compare the same things in the same way, that means that whatever x is, to get to 18, you would multiply by 3. Everybody, what number do you multiply by 3 by to get 18? What number fits that description? 6. If you kind of work it out in your head, blank times 3 equals 18. If I study my times tables, hey, that's 6. That is 6. Okay. And wait, let's just make sure if we go back to the previous slide. This is Blue's Clues. I can't see it, guys. Let's go ahead and zoom in even more. All right. Is it the same answer? Just making sure, guys. Is it the same answer? It is. So I again want to remind you that the only way that you know is not the only way. Let's work to understand different methods because when the situation presents itself, you can take advantage of convenient numbers. Plenty of times where this has happened. Plenty of times. So let me go back here now and remind you that you can do it the other way too. It's not just going from the bottom or from the top to the bottom. Again, if you're comparing the same things in the same way, you can go in any direction, including bottom to top. Let's remind ourselves here, my party people, how do I go? Again, multiplication or division, you can use either one. How do I go from the 9 to the 3? What do I do to 9 to get to 3? Yeah, Junior, it does work in every single problem so long as the numbers check out. Yes, what we would do is we would divide by 3. Everybody, is it true? 9 divided by 3, that's going to give us 3. 9 divided by 3 gives us 3. Is that true? Absolutely. Absolutely, we're good. Let me go ahead and make sure again. Compare the same things in the same way. If I'm going bottom to top on the left side, I go bottom to top on the right side. 18 divided by 3, what's that going to be, everybody? That's going to be 6. That's going to be 6. So again, you can go top to bottom, bottom to top. If you notice a convenient situation like that, you are good. You're good. Okay, so far, does this strategy make sense to you? Let's do a little check-in so far. Are we good with this? If we notice that the numbers are convenient, we can get that done. Okay. Sounds perfect. Perfect. So now that was the vertical comparison method. Let me show you vertical simplification. Just going to take 30 seconds of your time. So let me rewrite this. 3 over 9 equals x over 18. Let's take a second to zoom on in over here. Don't worry, I'll let you take a screenshot in a moment. My party people, I'm looking at that left side. I'm being a little suspicious here. I'm a little suspect of this because remember how sometimes math problems might just have you add, subtract, and multiply big numbers when sometimes there's a simpler way to do things? Especially given that in this situation, we're looking at fractions. Everybody, what's that S word that I wrote down earlier that you can do to fractions sometimes? What's that S word? Simplify. Yes, simplify. Everyone, do you notice that we can simplify the left side. Can you simplify 3 over 9? We can. We absolutely can. Everybody, what can I divide out of both 3 and 9? 3. Absolutely. So I'm checking this example out. I'm saying, hey, man, I can simplify this fraction before I cross multiply and divide. That'll give me an easier time. Remember earlier, we did 18 times 3, and we had to stop and actually write down the numbers, right? Well, if we see that we can simplify first, we might be able to save ourselves some time. 3 over 9, hey, that simplifies to 1 over 3, because 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So now you have yourself a proportion that can be solved a little faster now. Because when you do decide to cross multiply and divide, if you still want to go that way, if you're sitting here saying, I still want to do that, coach, well, now you can do it much faster, because you can do 3 times x and get 3x, 1 times 18 to get 18, and then you divide both sides by the 3, cross multiply, then divide, and notice that you get x equals what, everybody? We still get x equals 6. Did anybody here know that you could simplify a proportion before you actually solved it? Did anybody here know that you could actually simplify a proportion before you solved it? Oh, wow. Half and half, no's and yeses. I was hoping for more yeses. But hey, we're here to learn, right? So I'm glad that you're coming away with something here. I'm glad. I'm glad. That's good. Okay. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. We have one more bit here. So okay, let's ask here. So Lando, what you do to the top, also do to the bottom on the other side? Yeah, exactly. Just make sure you do the same thing to both sides. And since this is a fraction here, it follows its own rule where you can simplify a fraction. Because remember, 1/2, 5 over 10, 3 over 6, 4 over 8, 6 over 12. All of those are the same thing as half. You can write a fraction a million different ways and not change the actual value. It's a comparison, not an exact number. So with that, or unless it's decimal, but we're not going to get into that right now. So last thing I want to do is I'm going to show you the horizontal method. There's horizontal comparison and horizontal simplification. This is the last thing I'll show you, and then we're good. I promise you. So here, let me do it in red again. Horizontal comparison, and then horizontal simplification. And after this, we're getting straight into the word problems, and it's going to be a lot of fun from there. So here, in horizontal simplification, that Z was awful. Great. So here we go. Let's first start off by showing you how to do a horizontal comparison. Now, party people, again, as long as you compare the same things in the same way, you are fine. Here's one thing I notice, everybody. One thing I notice, if I'm looking horizontally, everybody, horizontally means left to right. As long as you're comparing the same things in the same way, you're good. Watch this. If I'm asking myself, hey, what do I notice? Well, I noticed that I can go from 9 to 18 by multiplying by what number, everybody? Yeah, if I multiply by 2, I can definitely go from 9 to 18 pretty easily. That's pretty simple for me. It's definitely something that we might recognize. Okay, well, what's the rule that we're following? Oh yeah, compare the same things in the same way. If I'm going from left to right on the bottom, I can do the same number left to right on top. It will be true. It has to be true. And so, guess what, everybody? 3 times 2, what's that going to be? Yep, 6. And there we have it. And there we have it. And so again, just another way that you can see how proportions, how much fluidity, how much creativity you can actually use when it comes to solving a proportion. X equals 6. And so again, it works with division as well. If you wanted to go backwards, or if you saw that there was a potential for division, you could still do that. But let's go ahead now and show you horizontal simplification. Remember everybody earlier how I told you when we went ahead, let me just actually refresh with you. Right over here, we had this as being right, boys over girls, boys over girls. But then I also showed you that, wait, you can move things around. As long as you're comparing the same things in the same way, you're fine. And I've already showed you that you can compare vertically and you can simplify vertically. And so therefore, if you can compare horizontally, you can simplify horizontally. Let me prove it to you. Let me prove it to you. That way no one here has any doubt that it works. It's just going to be a matter of how much you're willing to practice to master this idea. Here we go. Horizontal simplification. This might be a little tricky to get your head around, but it's actually very sincere. Here we go. Let's take a look at 9 and 18. Everyone, what are 9 and 18 both divisible by? They're both divisible by 3. But what's the biggest number that they're both divisible by? Let's try to knock it out of the park. Let's try to do what's called that greatest common factor. You know, the thing that when you simplify with it, it gives you the simplest answer. Yeah, it's going to be 9. It's going to be 9. 9 and 18 are both divisible by 9. And look at what happens here. If I divide both of the bottoms by 9, if I do the same thing to both sides in the same place, we're good. We're good. Because now we have still the 3 on the top. We still have the x on the top. But what do we have on the bottom left? What do we have here? What do we have here? We're going to have 1 because we had over there 9 divided by 9. So that's going to be 1. All right, sounds good. Over here we have 18 divided by 9. What's that going to be? That's going to be 2. Okay, so allegedly, supposedly, what had happened was we simplified both parts of both sides at the same spot. The denominators of both sides we divided by 9. Will that work? Okay, let's cross multiply. Let's find out. Let's find out. So now we'll do 1 times x. Everybody, what's 1 times x? Just going to be x, right? Yeah, that's just going to be x. And then what is 3 times 2? That's going to be 6. Come on, if there was some Cool in the Gang playing in the background or Earth, Wind, and Fire, you know, it's pretty groovy right now. Is this something that you can get behind? Is this something that's starting to make a little bit of sense? Is this making a little bit of sense? That's all I care about, man. Are you guys feeling comfortable with these somewhat new ideas? Because all proportions are, guys, are fractions. And if you understand how to compare the same things in the same way, this can be much, much easier for you. Notice that when I did it on the left over here, when I did the horizontal or vertical comparison, that really depends on you having a direct relationship from one to the other. You have to be able to notice times 2, times this, divide by this. You have to be able to notice it. So this is more so for really convenient situations. Vertical comparison and horizontal comparison. That's always for convenient situations. You have to be able to notice it. But over here, horizontal simplification, vertical simplification, this can always be used. So long as any one of these numbers has a common factor, you'll be able to find out what it is and boom, divide it out on both sides. And what that does is instead of cross multiplying with big numbers, 3 times 18, when you do get to the cross multiplication part, it's really easy numbers or easier than you would have had before. Would you guys agree with that? So simplifying a proportion first, vertically or horizontally, or just simplifying one fraction. Again, vertically or horizontally. Vertically is simplifying fractions. Horizontally is going to be just what you saw here. Just doing the same thing to both sides. That's the principle of solving equations. Do the same thing to both sides. We divided each bottom by 9. Did the same thing. And we saw that they were divisible. So if you see those conveniences, you give yourself a much easier problem at the end of the day. So that concludes my talk on solving proportions. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are we feeling about solving proportions? Perfect. Thanks for being honest. I love seeing those tens. Don't get me wrong. I love seeing those tens, but I appreciate and respect when you're more honest, as you know, when you're saying, hey, I'm at a five still. Thank you. But I see the majority of us are between 7 and 9, which again, not a bad spot to be in. I like that. Honesty is what I'm looking for. I'm glad it makes sense. I got you, Elena. So, all right, cool. Now let's dive on in to word problems. All right. So I'm going to guide you through 2 word problems here. Okay. I'm going to guide you through 2 word problems. So feel free to try to work ahead if you want to. But if you're any sort of confused or want my guidance, then don't work ahead. Go ahead, pay attention to my voice. I'm going to walk you through this. So here's the first step to solving any word problem, especially if this is your first class with me. The first step to solving any word problem is to forget the information. Just go straight after the question sentence. You want to know why you're here to begin with. Why are you breathing with this problem in your face? The moment you know why you walked into a room, the faster you can work out a solution. But if you're overwhelming yourself with information, like a recipe calls for blah, 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 sometimes you might let that anxiety creep in and you might forget what's actually going on. Let me go ahead and show you what's going on here. Straight to the question. It says, how many grams of spices must he use? And there's the word if at the beginning of the sentence, which is going to be important information. So let's just make sure we know what we're looking for, everybody. It says, if James uses 20 grams of sugar, how many grams of spices must he use? Everyone, are we looking for sugar or spices or something else? What are we looking for? Spices. Yes, grams of spices. We got to make sure we read the question carefully here. The word if, again, all that's doing is giving you information that's attached to this, that's related to this. So if 20 grams of sugar, that's how much we have. What we're really looking for is grams of spices. So let's write that down here. I'm looking for blank grams of spices, and I have 20 grams of sugar. So I'll just say 20 blank grams of spices with 20 grams of sugar. Is that all right for you guys right there? If I'm writing down what the question's asking me to find, I'm looking for the number of grams of spices if I have 20 grams of sugar. Like, notice they're in the same sentence. It says, if we have this, how much of that? That's telling you, that is cluing you in on the relationship between those 2 pieces of information. Number 2, let's write down the information. And this is where you're going to see how to tell when you're dealing with a proportion problem. I think that's the biggest question of the day. You know, how do you know when you're dealing with a proportion question? Watch. The first sentence reads, a recipe calls for 8 grams of sugar for every 28 grams of spices. My party people, let me know if you saw what just happened. Let me read that again for you. A recipe calls for 8 grams of sugar for every 28 grams of spices. True or false? The first sentence makes a relationship between spices and sugar. Okay, it's unanimous. Everyone in the chat box right now so far is saying true. Cool. Now, another question, true or false? In the red, in the question sentence, in what we highlighted here, there was a relationship stated between spices and sugar. My party people, do you, yes or no, do you see that we have 2 comparisons comparing the same things? On the first sentence, sugars and spices. Second sentence, sugar and spices. Do you see that we have 2 sentences comparing the same things? That's all you have to ask yourself. Like, did you notice that? Did you intuitively see that? Because the moment that you do, that's the moment you can guarantee that you have a proportion question. Again, it all ties to the same main idea. compare the same things in the same way. The proportion question will compare the same things. It's up to you to make sure that they're compared in the same way. Let me show you how this works. In blue, I'll highlight this over here. 8 grams of sugar for every 28 grams of spices. So I'll say right over here. Notice how what I wrote over here was spices first. Let me do my job here and be consistent. I'll start with the 28 grams of spices first. Is that okay with everybody? Cool. So with that, 28 grams of spices with 8 grams of sugar. Now, visually, can we confirm this now? I know my handwriting today is trash, but with that, can we see that what we have here, comparing the same things in the same way? We're looking for grams of spices. We can write X for that if we want to, if we dare to. But we have spices to sugar, spices to sugar. We can make a proportion out of this. Is that true? We can make a proportion out of this. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Let's do it. So I can make this proportion any way I want. I'm just going to go ahead and do the straight up way where I'm going to do spices over here on top, sugar on bottom. So I'll do spice, and that'll be sugar. That's just to show you what's going on. And then on the right side, again, just make sure you have the same comparison. So I'll write this down, and I'll say 28 grams. That's for spices. And then we have 8 grams of sugar on the bottom. Cool. We've set up one possible proportion. Again, you can set this up 6 different ways. Visually, you can set it up 6 different ways. But they all, as long as they compare the same things in the same way, you're good. You're good. But now that we're here, we can elect to solve this. Who here is looking at 20 times 28 and wants to cross multiply? Who wants to cross multiply here? Yeah, I want to cross multiply. All right, cool. That's unanimous. That's from everybody. Perfect. Let's go and try it out here. So here we go. Let me get this going for you. Actually, I'll feel a lot better if I went ahead and took this, moved it over here, and I'm just going to rewrite it in black. X over 20, same thing here, 28 over 8. So let's cross multiply here. What we have is X times 8. Everybody, X times 8 is going to be what? 8X, perfect. And then let's see what we got here. 20 times 28. Might be big for some of us. Might be big for some of us. But at the end of the day, if we go ahead and do it, 28 times 20, if we do it quickly, 8 times 0, 2 times 0, drop a 0 there. 8 times 2 is 16. 2 times 2 is 4, carry the 1 is 5. So we have 560. So that may have taken a little bit of time, but nonetheless, we got it done. Then we have 8x equals 560. So we have to divide both sides by what, everybody? We divide both sides by what? Perfect. We divide both sides by 8. Because again, that's the method, right? Cross, multiply, and divide. Nice and easy. And we have ourselves x equals, well, 560 divided by 8. Well, 56 divided by 8 is 7. So 560 divided by 8 is 70. Cool, 70. And there we have it. All good, all set, all fun. Who here is in agreement with this answer? Who here is confident that that all made sense? Again, that's your general method, right? That's your general method. Always works. It might take slightly longer, but if this was a practice test and you had this question, you could do cross multiplication and division for this exact same numbers. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You can get that done in under 2.5 minutes. Now, let me show you how much more of an advantage you can give yourself if you know mental math. Let me show you here. Let me go ahead and copy this page and go ahead and paste it right below. And let me just invite you to see how much better this can be for you. Again, if you emphasize mental math. if you emphasize understanding this at its core. So let me move all that, get all that out, and let me zoom in. Let me just do it live for you. If it doesn't make too much sense, no worries, but this is what I hope you can work toward. So, boom, if I'm looking at this live, the first thing I see, okay, bet 28 and 8, I'm going to vertically simplify here. I'm going to simplify the fraction. In my head, I'm going to write, hey, divide by 4, divide by 4. So the new fraction is going to be x over 20 equals 7 over 2. Next thing I think of, horizontal simplification, 20 and 2, both of those, they're divisible by 2. So the new fraction I have is x over 10 equals 7 over 1. All right, cross multiply and divide. X times 1, 10 times 7. And I can get that done quickly. That's the point I want you to work toward. Notice that there's much, much less actual math being done on paper if you're just identifying the comparisons. Did that make a little more sense there? Landon, no, you cannot. You cannot cross simplify. Cross simplify, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. Cool. And I'm glad you guys are taking this to heart. Like seriously, not too many folks are going to stick through it all, but the students who learn how to do the same problem multiple ways, those are the ones that always remain calm under pressure because they understand that the solution can happen as long as you find those relationships. Seriously. So thank you guys for sticking through that. Appreciate that. So just one more time to show you, you can cross multiply and divide, or you can use these techniques that I've been showing you. The comparisons and simplifications, you can make it happen for yourself. Because honestly, when we were at this step right here, not this one right here, this one here, when you're here, you could have instantly noticed, hey, 2 to 20, that's times 10. 7 to the answer, times 10, 70. You could have seen it there too. Could have seen it there. So again, just want to make sure you guys can see that. But there we are, my party people. That is the first one. Would you guys be willing to try a problem similar to this one, where you have to set the proportion up and solve it? Would you guys be willing to try one out? All right, sounds good, guys. Yeah, Karya. So the way that I knew was we're following the main idea of proportions. It's compare the same things in the same way. So what we ended up doing in that problem was we saw that, hey, we have a comparison of spices and sugar. So all we did was make sure that we compared spice to sugar, the same order. And we just followed the numbers. So the numbers told me where the 20, the 28 belonged, the X, and the 8. All you have to do is follow the numbers. So I'll show you here in this next one. I want to give you guys 3 minutes to try this one out. Let me go ahead and bring my timer up. You're going to see the timer show up to my right over here in just a moment. Let me go ahead and see. Cool. Okay, you can see it. And now let's get the timer. 3 minutes. Perfect. All right, so remember, guys, start with the question. The question with proportion problems always tells you what you should compare when you make the proportion. Okay? So let's start with the question, then your information, set it up, and see if you can solve. See as far as you can make it. I'm not expecting you to get it all done, but I am expecting you to see how far you can go. 3, 2, 1. Let's ace the ASVAB here. And that's the wrong one. Let me give you this one. I just reset the timer for you. There you go. Still got 20 seconds left. And remember, let's treat this like the actual ASVAB. If you're running out of time, hey, take the most logical guess you think you can make. All right, 4, 3, share those answers. Let's get ready to ride. Go. Share those answers. What do you have? What do you have? What do you have? What do you have? All right, we have 6. Okay, cool. Let's try things out, man. Let's go ahead and see what we have. Let me bring my ugly face back into this and let's have ourselves a math party. So, everybody, first things first, again, treat this like you don't know that it's a proportion word problem. Let's work through this from the fundamentals. Let's practice the basics. Reading the question, what did you guys see we're trying to find out? What piece of information are we trying to solve for? Right, how wide is it? So it's width, right? If we're searching for how wide something is, it's safe to say width is a pretty common term to use. So sure, let's write that down right there. How wide will it be? Okay, so we'll say blank. And you see the answer choices, right? They say centimeters. So I'll go ahead and just say blank centimeters wide. And notice that this is a very similar question to the point where, hey, there's the word if. There's information that's connected to what we're trying to find. Take advantage of that. Always notice the word if. The word if 99 times out of 100 will give you a very big clue or connection that you want to make. So that connection, that's given to you right there. Height of 4 centimeters, reduced to a height of 4 centimeters. So blank centimeters wide, 4 centimeters tall. Is that fair to say to you, everybody? Again, we're looking for X centimeters wide. And we also know that this thing that we're talking about is 4 centimeters tall. Right, exactly, Junior. The word wide was the key to setting up that comparison. Exactly. So now that we're here, we're looking back at the information. Let's see what we can kind of pick apart from the problem. And we're taking a look. I see that it says, hey, the painting is 20 centimeters tall and 30 centimeters wide. Everyone, even if you are confused at this point, is it fair to say that we're comparing in the first sentence how tall something is with how wide it is? And then in the second sentence, the question sentence, we see again, we're talking about how tall something is and we're trying to find out how wide it is. Do we notice that we're comparing the same things? Good. Because if you're at that point, then what you're saying is, hey, I see that we're comparing the same things. If I want to solve this problem, I just have to compare them in the same way. One more time. In the word problem, you're going to notice that you're comparing the same things. Now it's up to you to compare them in the same way. That's how you solve it. So let me exemplify what I'm supposed to be doing here. In blue, I have 20 centimeters tall, 30 centimeters wide. And right here, I can check myself. Because what do I notice? Oh, wide, tall. So how wide it is at first, but then over here, it's how tall it is. Use that moment to recognize I just compared them incorrectly. I did not compare them the same way. That's dangerous. If I were to do that, I would get the problem wrong automatically. Yes or no, does that make sense to you? This right here is incorrect in terms of how I wrote it down. This is not exactly setting myself up for success. Okay. The better we notice that, the better we notice these moments, the more successful we'll be. So, easy solution. Well, for me at least, because I can just do this. But for you, you're going to have to erase what you wrote and change the order. But again, I'm not here to feel bad for you. Take your notes. So there we are. Now this is compared the same way. Cool. Same comparisons in the same way. I'm good. So now I can happily go and say we have X over 4 equals 30 over 20. Once I have that there, I'm good. And one thing I noticed that if I want to solve this problem super fast is, hey, look, well, it's not very easy to go from 20 to 30 to do that. So instead, what I noticed was, hey, I can go from 20 back down to 4. And that'll have to be the same way over here. Everyone, what do I do to 20? Multiply, divide by what number? What do I do to 20 to get back down to 4? I can divide by 5. Exactly. If I divide by 5, 20 divided by 5 does give me 4. That works. So therefore, the same comparison will work up top. 30 from the right side back to left. Because again, it's right to left, right to left. So 30 divided by 5, what's that going to be, my party people? X equals 6. And again, this is a perfectly reasonable problem. You are always guaranteed to get one or two very, very straightforward questions on the ASVAB with straightforward numbers. This might be one of them in terms of this problem type. And you might be able to notice a very quick comparison. And there you go. Because they're expecting, what they're trying to see is, do you know how to set the proportion up to begin with? That's all they're testing you on. If you set it up incorrectly, you'll get the wrong answer. You'll get the wrong answer. Plain and simple. Right on, Junior? And Jocelyn, for sure, there's other ways to do it. Because you could have simplified, you could have just straight up cross multiplied. All of it works out. Hey, I'm glad, Karya. Perfect. So with that, this is, again, like I'm saying, one of the more fundamental problems that you'll see when it comes to proportions. I want to make sure that I'm very, very clear here. Everybody, when it comes to proportions, there are 3 main types. Well, technically 4. The 4th is just the very basics of the basics, which is just writing ratios. But for the sake of this conversation, it looks like we're able to do that already naturally, so we have skipped past that. Then there's regular proportions, comparing the same things in the same way as we've always been talking about. And I call these part to part. Notice how in this problem, it was how wide versus how tall. In the previous question, we're talking about spices and sugar. So that's part to part, one thing compared to another. Then there are part to total questions where the total, the sum, everything is included. And you'll just have to make sure you spot one keyword: total, sum, everything, in all. Those keywords that tell you everything all together, that's all you have to notice. And I'm going to show you that example next. And lastly, you have triple ratio questions. Triple ratio questions are problems where they just give you, instead of this compared to this, they give you the ratio of red to blue to green is this to this to this. It may seem confusing, but if you follow the compare the same things in the same way rule, you're fine. Absolutely fine. So the reason I just stopped to say all of that was because obviously there's not going to be a chance for us in one class to go over and master all of these types. So I'm going to take a quick moment to talk to you, those of you in the program, and remind you exactly how to practice this beyond today's class. So allow me 2 seconds here to just pull this up in the background, and I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do. Cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my screen behind me. Everybody, can you see the screen behind me? Yes or no? Excellent. So for those of you that are in my program, here's what you want to do. Beyond class today, we still have 40 minutes left, 45 minutes. We're still going to practice a ton, but we're not going to get through everything. So here's what you want to do to get to triple ratio and part to total if we don't get to all of it. Right here in blue, you see the arithmetic reasoning course. All you have to do is click on that. And what you're going to do is you're going to focus on Unit 2. Right down here, Unit 2. For those of you that are seeing this for the first time and seeing all these X's, this is a dummy account. If you work through the courses you're supposed to, those will turn into check marks as you move along. But what you do to make it a check mark is what you're going to say is this. Look, open up proportions. You're going to open up the study guide. And the study guide includes written notes. It includes recorded lessons just like this that will be recorded. Also includes worksheets, practice problems for you, and a practice test It brings it all together. Again, if you pass the practice test, you're good to move on. You know enough of it to hold your own on the test. So what you want to focus on is right here on the left once you log in. Click Arithmetic Reasoning, Unit 2 Proportions, and you'll have this. You have everything you need, extra lessons, casual practice, but this is the big boy you really want to take care of, the checkpoint. So let me show you what this looks like. Let me go ahead and retake the exam. Again, you get all 10 correctly, you get 5 stars. You click Ready to Start, and what you're going to notice, like I said, 3, 2, and 1, it'll go ahead and populate. You have your timer right up there. You have 2 minutes per question, and you got to work as quickly as you can to answer 10 questions, starting from the basics of the basics. And then it gets a little harder. Might get some parts of total questions. You may get a triple ratio question, and that's the idea there. This is a triple ratio question where you have 3 ratios in 1. And boom. And every time you retake this, it resets the question. So you won't get the same ones, but you will get a feedback report that will allow you to go ahead and learn from those mistakes for the questions down the line. Everything's all there for you. It'll help you learn. Nice and easy. So for those of you in the program, does that make sense? After this class, Arithmetic Reasoning, Unit 2, and your job is to work up to getting that speed drill checkpoint done. Cool. And that's fine. If you run out of time, that's totally fine, because the point of this is to see how much you know right now. In education, this is what we call a summative assessment. And it's just really to see, hey, have you mastered it? This is everything all together. And you can retake it over and over again until you can at least get 5 or 6 correct, then go for 7 correct, then go for 8, then go for 9. And if you can't answer any at all, that means that it might be a good idea to go back into the recorded lessons or reach out to me. You can always text me to ask for extra help. I got you. Oh, send me a screenshot, iPhone. We can work on that. Cool. So we're going to do as much as we can tonight. We're going to do as much as we can tonight, but just in case we can't get through it all, that's how you can continue on for tonight. So here we go, my party people. Let's go ahead and bring it on back. Let's do this next one here. This is an example of a part to total question. So my party people, let's read through it. Let me see if you can identify the key word here that makes this question a little different. Who can spot the key word that makes this just a little different? Yeah, the key word is going to be total. It's going to be total. Let me just highlight that for you right now. Right there. And notice, everybody, is it true with proportions, we're typically comparing the same things more than once, right? Typically, we're comparing the same things 2 times. I got to say, in the first sentence, it'll say, how tall it is, how wide it is. Then in the next sentence, how tall it is, how wide it is, right? Earlier, we saw sugars and spices. Then we saw again sugars and spices, right? We saw all that. What's the problem here? The problem here is that when you read through, the question sentence says total cups of milk. If you read the first sentence here, it says cups of flour, cups of milk. Oh, I recognize cups of milk, cups of milk, cups of milk. But I see cups of flour and then I see total cups. Do you see that it doesn't exactly add up here? Do you see that as you see it explicitly, as it's shown, it's not exactly comparing the same things for us? Do you see that? That it's not being handed to us? Do you see that, my party people? They don't actually give you all the information you need. This is what makes this a higher order question. You have to figure out what pieces you need to actually solve for what you want. That's what makes this higher order. So many people give up so easily the moment that they think that they're confused. But I can tell you right now, follow the idea. Compare the same things in the same way. You'll be fine. Let me show you how. First step, let's read the question, everybody. The question says, we have 80 total cups of pancake batter. How many cups of milk were used? So, everyone, is it okay with you in terms of what I want? Is it okay with you if I write blank cups of milk is what we want, and the piece of information that's connected to it or compared to it is 80 total cups? Is that okay, everybody? And when they say 80 total cups, we're talking about 80 total cups of pancake batter. So it sounds like they're going to say, hey, we're mixing milk and flour, other ingredients, but we're mixing milk and flour and we mix it up, and that's going to make pancake batter. That's where the total comes from, because we have mixed the milk and the flour. So enough of that. Let's see if we can get the information from the problem and find a way to make a proportion. Let's find a way. So over here, it says 21 cups of flour are used for every 9 cups of milk. So let's write this down. 21 cups of flour, and then we have 9 cups of milk. Okay, first of all, everybody, are we comparing this in the same way? Yeah, first of all, no, not really. If I'm just looking at this, because it says cups of milk to start off, that says cups of flour. So is it okay if I just correct myself real quick? If I first start off by moving this over here and then replacing it with the other one. So now is it okay? They both start off with milk. Is that cool? Is that cool now? Good. So now that that's good with y'all, okay, we're trying to compare the same way, but are we comparing the same things? Check this out. Cups of milk, total cups. Cups of milk, cups of flour. Are we comparing the same things? No, we're not. This is what confuses the heck out of everyone who is unfamiliar to proportions. But I'm going to show you that it's a very simple solution, very simple step to take. It's a simple question. If what you're trying to find is cups of milk and you're comparing it to total, everyone, what does total mean? What does total mean? Indy, that's right. You have to add them together. It's the sum of the parts, adding up all the parts. So if we are taking a look over here and we're saying we have 9 cups of milk and we have 21 cups of flour, my party people, is it true that if I add these together, I'll get 30 total cups? Is that true? Is that true? And that's what we can do. Having the understanding of what total means, we can take the information that they give us. And if we have to make sure that if we write a proportion and it starts with milk versus total, the other fraction has to be milk versus total. That's not what we're doing here. And that's why this has to go away, and we'll replace it with the 30 total cups. Because now we are comparing the same things in the same way. Is that a little better for you? Again, we're still following the same main idea that we started off an hour and a half ago. Compare the same things in the same way. Everybody, yes or no in the chat box? Does that make sense? Good. I'm telling you guys, notice how we've been spending way more time on actually learning the English turning to math as opposed to actually computing. Like, this is way too important. I know y'all want to go ahead and blast these problems and do the math, but we have to learn how to get to doing the math. So Here we go. Let's go ahead. Now we have this set up. We're good now. Let me move this over here just a tad bit. There we go. And so here, I'll just put X right there. And so we have X over 80 equals 9 over 30. All right. Now that we're here, what I'm going to do, well, we can go ahead and just solve this thing. So we could cross multiply if we wanted to, or we can try to simplify if we wanted to. Either way, either way. So what I can do is I can go ahead and say, hey, man, 9 and 30, we can try to go ahead and simplify that. Everybody, 9 and 30 are both divisible by what? They're both divisible by 3. So let's go ahead and try that out. Let's divide both the top and the bottom by 3. Give ourselves an easier time. We'll have X over 80 still on the left side, but on the right side, 9 divided by 3, that's going to be 3. And then we have 30 divided by 3, and that's going to be what, everybody? That's going to be 10. Perfect. So at this point, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, hey, okay, I can actually, if I want to cross multiply and divide, it'll be nice and it'll be a little easier now. But if I have a quick little second to look at this just for 1 second longer, I might notice that I've set this up perfectly for myself, because to go from 3 to X is the same as going from 10 to 80. Everyone, how do we go from 10 to 80? Give me the operation too. Give me the operation. Right. We can multiply by 10 or by 8 there. 10 times 8, that's going to be 80. So that means 3 times 8, that will be the answer. X equals 24 right there. And again, for sure, if you wanted to, you could cross multiply and divide. No problem at all. Like I said, X times 10, that's 10X. 80 times 3, 240. That's the cross multiplication. Now the division. So when we divide now, X equals 24. Either way works, everybody. It's really up to you. Be responsible, learn the methods, and pick the one that you're most comfortable with. No problem at all. But either way, ignoring the math that we did the setup make sense, everybody? Ensuring that if you are comparing the same things in the same way, you've got yourself a successful setup, and you can guarantee that the answer will be correct once you solve. That's the biggest part. That's the biggest lesson of today. The main idea. Compare the same things in the same way. If you learn that, you're good. We added because of the word total. We wanted to make sure that we are comparing milk to total, and we didn't have total at first. We had flour. To get total, you got to mix the flour and the milk. So that's what this was all right here. 9 cups flour, 9 cups milk, 21 cups flour. That's how we got the 30 total cups. That's how we got it. Perfect. Glad you got it. It's all good, Jessica. All right. So it looks like we're good to start practicing now. This is good. This is good. Are you guys ready to start some time practice? I'm not gonna tell you if it's a part-to-part problem. I'm not gonna tell you if it's a part-to-total problem. I'm just gonna give you the problem, and you got to get to work. You ready for that? All right, let's do it. And if I make sure, or if the problem that we are at the point around 7:45, if we can get done before 7:47, I can make sure that we do a triple ratio problem as well. I'll make sure we try to do the hardest of the hard. So with that, like I said, 3 minutes per question. Like I said, 3 minutes per question. And the goal here is to understand how far you've come. How confidently can you get to a point where you have a setup and solve? See how far you can come. So with that said, 3, 2, 1, timer has started. What do we have, my party people? What do we have? Time is up. Share those answers. If you're taking a guess, go ahead and put a question mark next to your guess. No problem at all. All right. All right. Let's see what we got. So, and yeah, it's okay if you're saying no clue, no worries at all. Again, we're here to try our best. That's all we're here to do. That's all we can do. So don't beat yourself up if you don't understand what's going on. Let's figure it out. All right, cool. So with that, let's try things out. Let me get my face back into the picture. Timer's away. Here we go. So first things first, my party people, when we read the question, when we're trying to figure out what is it that we want to find, hit me. What's the one word or phrase that'll tell you what you're looking for? What'd you get? What are you looking for? Okay, some people are saying total. Some people are saying how many women. Which one is it? Which one is it? What's the consensus? We are looking for, yes, women. Nope, not total. We're looking for women, everybody. Remember, it's always going to follow the phrases, the who, what, when, where, how many, which of the following. In this case, we're saying how many women right here. So before I continue, let's make sure that makes sense. Everybody, are we in agreement that we are asking how many women work at this company? Yeah, so before we get the whole total part involved, before we get that involved, let's just start with the basics. What are we looking for? And it says, hey, how many women work at this company? Okay, cool. Beyond that, it's in the same sentence as if there are 168 employees total. So we're looking for the number of women, and they gave you 168. What? What did they give you? Hit me with it. Right. They give you the total employees. So let's write that down. What we want is there are blank women and there are 168 total employees. Again, the first thing you want to do is simply ensure that you know what it is you're looking for, everybody. If the first thing that you tried to grip on was total, 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 because I said, hey, total tells you the total question, you're not exactly doing it the right way. That's something we definitely want to nip in the bud right here, because we want to make sure we're doing things the right way. You're assuming too quickly. Let's start off with the question. Question says, looking for the number of women, and they just so happen to tell you how many total people there are. So when we write it down, blank women, you can say W women with 168 total employees. Is that understandable so far? Is that understandable so far? We started off with what we want, and we saw that there was a connected piece of information that just so happened to give us the total. Cool. We don't want to be reactionary. We don't want to be like, oh, the moment I see a word that I think might mean something. No. Start off slow, guys. We got this. Now, step 2. Let's continue collecting information and see if there's any sort of connection, comparison that we can hold on to. So here we go. In blue, it says, hey, the ratio of men to women working for a company is 3 to 5. Everyone, you may not have seen that written entirely in that way yet today, and I'm more than happy to shed some light on what this means. So right here, let me just make sure I write this. The ratio of men to women, 3 to 5. Everybody, when it comes to proportions, is it true that the order matters? Is that true? Is it true that the order matters? Here's a hint. Yes. Yes, the order matters. All right. The order absolutely matters. So with that said, here's what we're going to do. If they say, hey, men to women, 3 to 5, what that means is the 3 represents the first one, men, and the 5 represents the second one, women. Yes or no? Does that make sense? What that means again is that we have 3 men for every 5 women. Okay, that's all the information that they give us. That's all the information they gave us. If you're looking at this and you're aware of the main idea, compare the same things in the same way. How many times are we going to say the same thing, right? Well, here we are. Are we comparing the same things? I see women and women. Yeah, we're comparing the same things, but not entirely, because I also have total and I have men. That should be the little light bulb in your head saying, I got to do a little bit of extra work. First of all, what I noticed was that it's not even in the right order. The 5 for the women, that should be first. And everybody, I actually don't have the total. Can I find the total for the blue? Can I find the total, everybody? Yeah. Yes, yeah, they all mean the same thing. Yes. So think about it, everybody. If we have 3 men, 5 women, how many total people do we have? 8. And that's how we can find the information we're missing. By understanding that we need total, we don't have total for the blue for that first sentence there, but we can figure it out because they gave us all the parts. Because they gave us all the parts, we can assume that the total is the sum of those parts, adding them together. 3 plus 5 is 8. Boom. 5 women, 8 total employees, or 8 total parts to those employees, and we're good now. Now we can set this up, solve, and have ourselves a good day. W over 168 equals 5 over 8. Does that make sense, my party people? Juan, no, we would not add 8 to 168 because those are 2 separate comparisons. Because the 168 is the actual total number of employees. The 8 total that we got here is 8 parts because it said 3 parts men to 5 parts women. So that means there's 8 total parts or 8 total groups. And Nayeli, I agree. The hardest part absolutely is making the connections. That's the hardest part. And that's what separates people who fail from people who get to 31. It separates the 31s from the 40s and 50s, separates the 50s from the 90s. It does. Absolutely does. And just remember, everybody, just to make sure that you understand, this is not a binary thing. This is not a you know this or you don't know this. This is a how well do you know this? And it'll show in the score that you get. So let's finish this problem here. We have W over 168 equals 5 over 8. Again, the general way to solve this would be cross multiplying and dividing. You can feel free to do that. If you notice that 168 is 8 times 21, then you can give yourself a much easier time and you can mental math your way to the answer 105. But if you didn't know that, no worries. If you didn't spot that with mental math, what you can do, cross multiply 8W 168 times 5. What would that end up being when you multiply by 5? That's the same thing as multiplying by 10, dividing by 2. So that would be 840. And then from there, you would divide both sides by 8. And that would end up being 840 divided by 8. 800 divided by 8 is 100. 40 divided by 8 is 5. 105. And there you have it. 105 women at this workplace. So again, notice how I just kind of skipped through the math because I know you know how to do the math. We've gone through that extensively today. I really want to talk about the setup. Are we understanding the setup, everybody? Are we understanding the setup? I'm sorry for the allergies. Cool. I saw you said nothing. Someone said no twice. The same person said no twice. Just trying to get a good idea for where we are. Yeah, hold on, take a picture, send it over to me after class. I'll verify to see if what you did is mathematically sound, and if not, I'll make sure to correct you. No problem. I got you, man. Nasal spray helps. Now, I mean, I get sick very easily. I get back from the gym right before class, maybe like an hour before class, and I was answering text messages and didn't shower. My fault. So I'm gonna shower right after. But with that, there we go. I want to go ahead and try one more question here. I want to do triple ratio problem. Are you guys down to try a triple ratio problem? All right, cool. Let's go and cap this off and try a triple ratio problem. And again, I'm going to point forward how to continue practicing this. So let me find the triple ratio question. Okay, here we go. Let me give you the timer here. This will be our final question of the day. So I'll give you 4 minutes for this one. I'll let you try this one out for sure. Let's go ahead and see if we can get this one done confidently. You know, I really want to see if you can explain your work to yourself and also to me. Go. Y'all got this, man. Just do your best. And remember, everybody, start with the basics. Start with the question. What are you looking for? Then write your information down. This one's a little trickier, but you got this. It's absolutely possible. Looking at our final 10 seconds here. All right, 1 second left. And time, my party people. There we go. What do we have, guys? Put a question mark next to your answer if it's a guess. There's no shame at all if it's a guess. No shame at all, guys. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring myself back into frame. There we go. Let's try this out. So, who's confident? Who's confident? Not just that you have an answer, that you have the correct answer, that you know you got the right answer. Who's confident? All right, cool. Let's see if that's true. Let's see if we can back that up. So, first things first, read the question. Let's understand what we want. And when we read the question sentence, again, just focus on that first. We want the number of blue items here. How many blue? Okay. So notice how this is a little different because what we've been used to seeing is, well, they might give you a comparison, like if we have this many of whatever, how many of that? But now it's just saying, hey, how many blue? A little suspect, a little different, a little nerve-wracking, but we can still do this. Here's how. First things first, write down what you want. We want blank blue. Okay, that's all we have. That's all we're going to work with. Let's see what information we have. Next up, let's read here. It says, there are 3 types of balls in a container, red, green, and blue. Okay, that's a crucial piece of information. We have 3 types of balls in the container. Sounds good, 3 different colors. So we're dealing with 3 colors. Then it says, the container has a total of 204 balls. Where did I see the word container before? Everybody, am I going to put the total of 204 with the blank blue? Or is that going to be its own separate piece of information? You tell me. Does the 204 belong with the blue that I'm looking for? Or does the 204 belong in an entirely new comparison? Okay, so I see the majority of us are saying its own new comparison. And the answer to that is no, that's false. The answer is it belongs with the blue. And let me explain why. Right over here. Look at this. Right here it says, how many blue balls are in the container? And then it says, the container has a total of 204 balls. So yes, those are actually the same inside of the same comparison. We're looking for the number of blue in the container, and we have 204 total in the container. Do you guys understand that the number of blue that we're looking for and the 204 total are parts of the same string of information in the container? Yeah, it does. No, it does go with blue. I hope we can see that there. Because again, we're looking for the number of blue in the container, and we have 204 total in the container. I hope you can see that. Because if you look at the next sentence, let me just highlight that for us so we can move forward here. The container has a total of 204 balls. And then over here in blue, this is not where they're talking about the number of balls in the container. They're talking about the ratio of the colors. So that's different. That's the other comparison. It says the ratio of red to green to blue is 2 to 4 to 6. Yes or no? Do we see that distinction there? The 204 are the ones in the container, the total in the container. The blue that we're looking for are the blue in the container. And then the ratio that they give us, that's the comparison between the colors. And so if we write that down, red is first, green is second, blue is third. So when we say 2, 4, and 6, that means the ratio part of it, it's going to be 2 red, 4 green, and 6 blue. Are we okay with that so far, everybody? Before I continue and show you the magic trick to continuing from here, are you okay with where the information lies? Are you okay with where we put everything? Okay. Good. So here's what we need to do now. We need to set up the proportion. My biggest key, my biggest hint has always been base it off of what you're looking for. Here, we're looking for blue and we have total. So my goal here is to present the blue and present the total from the ratio, from this comparison here. So everybody, what number should I put for blue? What number should I put for blue? Absolutely. I should put 6 for blue. It's right there. It's right there at my face. It's given to me. We're good. So that's the easier part. Somewhat of the harder part might be, well, the total. We have to compare blue to total on the top. So we got to do blue to total in this second comparison here too. If I have 2 red, 4 green, and 6 blue, how many total do I have? How many total do I have? 12. 2 plus 4 plus 6. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. So that's going to give us a total of 12. And now I can write that down. 12 total. For those of us that were confused before, is this starting to come together for you? Is this starting to come together for you? Again, it's all because of one sentence, one main idea. Compare the same things in the same way. If you're doing that, unstoppable when it comes to proportions. You know, you might have trouble if they start mixing topics like proportions and distance, rate, time, maybe, but no matter what, if it involves a proportion, it is compare the same things in the same way, full stop. So with that, when you have this set up, you might be able to just look at this and tell what the answer is. Because you see that the number of blue is half of the total. Is that true, everybody? Do you see that? 6 blue, 12 total. Blue is half of the total. Do you see that? Do you see that? Because if you see that, you don't even need to make the proportion. If you're looking for the number of blue and you got 204 total, what's half of 204? 102. Boom. If you see that right there, you're good. That's 102, and there's your answer. But if you need to set it up, no problem. We have B for blue over 204 equals 6 for blue over 12 total. Once you see that, you might be able to make the suggestion or the implication that, hey, man, if we go from 12 down to 6, that's dividing by 2. 204 to the answer, divide by 2. B equals 102. No need to do 204 times 6, then divide by 12. That's a lot of math that is unnecessary if you can see the mental shortcut right there. And there you have it.
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, you're a computer and not my job to teach you. So with that, sorry, my watch went off. So with that, there we are. Go ahead and take a screenshot if you'd like to. And then give me a quick comment here in the chat box. For my party people on YouTube, my party people on Zoom, go ahead. Give me a comment in the chat box. How would you say this class went for you? How would you say? I'm glad, guys. I'm glad. Because here's the thing, man. The triple ratio, that's as far as it really goes. I mean, you can start making them harder by mixing other topics in there, but that's as hard as it gets. Triple ratio and totals, those are the hardest ones. So and notice how this is a triple ratio with a total in there. So I gave you the hardest of the hardest, and most of us were able to handle it or see through those mistakes that we may have made. And that's really all you can hope for, because as you continue practicing, building that familiarity and comfortability, you'll be in a very good spot moving forward. Elena, I had a tutor for 2 weeks. I learned more from you in this one session. Definitely a great help. I'm going to screenshot that. I also run a business, and that's called marketing. So let me go ahead and screenshot that comment. Thank you, Elena. Gonna go ahead and not even use that for marketing. I am going to go ahead and print that out and put it on my fridge so my mom can see that comment. So with that, you guys have been absolutely wonderful. So like I said, we're going to conclude this class here. And for those of you that are in the program, we have another class tomorrow, 6 p.m. for a complete arithmetic reasoning review. So it's the same time. You know how to get the link. I'm going to email it to you and text it to you 2 hours before class. Again, if you're in the program. For those of you that are here and you're not in the program, I'm going to go ahead and hook you up. I'm going to show you how the program works very briefly. I'm going to make sure that the program is for you. And if you want to sign up, great. It'll be a pleasure of mine to help you raise your score and get the job you want. So again, let me conclude this class here. Let me bring this down over here. Our party people, again, for those of you that are here in the program, you are free to go. If you would like to leave a couple of words for those who are considering the program, let them know what your experience has been like. I would greatly appreciate that. And then you can see yourselves out, and I'll see you tomorrow. And for those of you, again, in my program, text me at least once a week. If I don't text you first, reach out to me to see where things are. Appreciate that, Junior. So with that, yeah, appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's class. So for those of you that are interested in the full program, let me go ahead and first make sure that this is going to be for you, because the program is specifically designed to make your life very easy. But there's a lot of people, not a lot, well, there are a lot of people that are pretty close to passing on their own. And I'm not the type of person that's going to try to force you to buy something that you don't need if you're probably able to get it done on your own. So for those of you that are considering the program or here for the first time, here are the questions that you really want to ask yourself, and go ahead and answer them in the chat box. Number one, does test anxiety stop you from doing your best? And what that means is, does the idea of having that scheduled test coming up, 3 days left, 2 days left, 1 day left, does your heart get, a little weird, start racing a little bit just by thinking about the test coming up? Do you get nervous? Just being timed under pressure, does that make it so that it feels like all your studying just went out the window? Okay, number two. There's a link for the program, and I'll give you the link in a moment. I got you. Number two, do you find yourself blanking out on word problems? Do you find yourself understanding the words, but when you try to put it all together, it's just like, what the heck is going on? If it happens often, this program solves that issue. It's a very solvable and treatable issue, but you have to start early, as in now, and work just consistently enough to improve day by day. Number three, do you hate guessing and hoping for the best? And this is really for those people out there who run out of time. Do you find yourself running out of time constantly on practice tests? If so, boom. Well, that's time management. We can work on that. And lastly, is it kind of confusing or frustrating to have to study on your own, to have to figure out all the topics that you have to line up, how to know when you're actually ready to take the test? Is that frustrating to you? And if so, then again, if you answered yes to even one of these questions, then yeah, the program is for you. If you answered two or more, you are probably going to want to get that program ASAP. Okay? Just being honest. So on a more positive note, if you feel like this specific session improved your chances of passing, again, the program will be welcome to you in open arms. If you believe that more of this could work for you, and if you wish that someone had your back until you passed, as in someone who's willing to text you back same day, help you with practice questions, help you understand what the next thing to do is, and overall give you a general sense of confidence that you know what you're doing, then again, this is for you. So with that said, I want to make sure that this is very clear. You don't have to be special to raise your score. The stars don't have to align. All you have to do is sit down and do the work. I take care of everything else. I've had thousands of students pass with the program. Right now, there are over 600 students currently enrolled. It's been the best pleasure of my life working on this program every single day to make sure you guys have the best experience possible. And these are just some of the students that have been very proud to really represent the program and wear their shirts on test day and pass. It's just been it's been surreal. And I'm really proud of you guys, and I'm proud of you guys who are about to join too. So with that, here is what the program is like. You can read through this, or you can listen to the very simple plan. For math, the plan is simple. You start with a math basics course, then you move over into arithmetic reasoning and math knowledge, then you take practice tests. When it comes to English, you start off with the study guides for word knowledge and paragraph comprehension. You go through the courses, and you take practice tests. When it comes to the overall review, come to the Zoom classes, text me, ask me questions. go through my study guides, my study reviews, and the recordings, and get ready for test day. So you have everything you need for any learning style, any which way. And I'm always there to support you if you want to text me at any time. Oh, yeah. And there are like 99 other features that I'm not even talking about right now that are all beneficial to you, like progress reports on the weekly and more. So the easy way to get this done is to trust this, work your butt off, and get the score you want. I can't do the work for you, but this is as close as it gets. I literally lined everything up for you, and all you got to do is sit down and get to work. The way to sign up is like this. You're going to go to the link that I'm going to put in the chat box. You're going to click sign up and raise your score and pick the plan that works best for you. Monthly, hey, everyday low price of $60 a month. You get 24 hours of classes and everything else that I said. You can get the year program at a discount, $150 off, which is over 50% off tonight only. You can get that year for $147. Or you can get the lifetime, pay once, never pay again. If you want to enlist now, get promoted later, plenty of my students do it. I would go with the lifetime. That's currently $200 off tonight only. So if you look at the chat box, I'll go ahead and put the link right there for you. That way you can sign up and raise that score. So let me pull this up right here. Boom. And there's your link in the chat box. And on YouTube as well. Here you go, my party people. There it is. So remember, it doesn't matter if you failed before, because where you are now is not where you're going to be. You have all the power in the world to make the decisions you need to make. But if you're going to sit here and try to do the same things that you have been doing, procrastinating, memorizing questions and hope that they'll be on the test, listening to some random person online telling you that this is exactly what you're going to see, when you fall for those hopium wishes where you're grappling on the hope, it doesn't go well. This is something that's going to show your aptitude, your ability to potentially occupy a position in the military. And they do a very good job of testing for it. If you're not formally understanding how to get that done, it gets harder. But if you have a program that lines it up for you, it gets easier. So the choice is really yours. I'm not going to force you to do anything, but I'm going to encourage you to make a small investment for a potentially massive bonus and enlistment. I think you know what's at stake. So make the right choice. Sign up now. So there you go, my party people. You guys have been awesome tonight. I'm going to go ahead and answer any questions that you guys have. I'm still available for the next 4 minutes. I know we ended class about 6 minutes ago, but I'm more than happy to entertain any questions about the program or myself. That way you can understand what you're getting into. And yeah, so the person that messaged there, all you got to do is click the link. And again, like I said, click the link, click sign up now and raise your score, and then pick a plan. Monthly, year, or lifetime. And remember, the subscription, the monthly, it's a month-to-month subscription. You can cancel whenever, like Netflix or Hulu. All you got to do is log in, click my account, click cancel whenever you're done. Super quick. Yeah, Alexander, go ahead. Ask a question. Mira, thanks for coming. I appreciate you saying that. So you took it twice, or you took it 2 months ago and you retake it next month. So this is your second time. So definitely get into your study habits, make sure that you're learning the right way, and give it your best go. But as always, remember, when you take the test is entirely up to you. So if you have your test in a couple of days, in a couple of weeks, and you're not feeling quite ready, it's completely up to you to say, hey, Staff Sergeant so-and-so, I just got with an ASVAB coach. I'm going to reschedule the test for when I know I'm ready to go. That way, I can enlist faster. Because there's no point in going in when you're not confident. All you're doing is delaying it by a month. And then after your third time, you wait 6 months. You don't want that. You want to enlist confidently in the job you want, and it's worth preparing the right way. Yeah, so here's your question. So my ASVAB is in 28 days, and I'm wondering which topic is harder, arithmetic reasoning or the word problem? So the answer to that is, well, the arithmetic reasoning is word problems. The math knowledge is the pure math side of things. Arithmetic reasoning, word problems, math knowledge is the pure math. So it's also worth knowing the job that you want, what scores do you need in what areas? So many people come to me and they say, Coach, Man, I'm really worried about the electronics information section. I'm really worried about mechanical comprehension. The thing is, depending on the job you want, you don't even need to study that. Your main focus should always be the two maths, the two English. That's the first thing you should worry about. Math knowledge, arithmetic reasoning, word knowledge, paragraph comprehension. Then, if you're trying to go for a specific job, like let's say warrant officer, you're probably going to want to study the general technical, which, hey, it's just going to be arithmetic reasoning, paragraph comprehension, and word knowledge. Great. You don't have anything extra to study. But if you're trying to go to be a mechanic, well, chances are you might need to know mechanical comprehension and electronics information. So it's a really good idea to do your research or reach out to me if you have any questions at all about the job that you want so you know how to study. Yeah, actually, I'll give you my phone number right here. So if you want to ask me, hey, coach, hey, what requirements do I need for this job? Just tell me what branch and what job you're going for, and I'll tell you what requirements you need to go for. Here's my phone number. You can text me anytime. 567-698-8867. Text me anytime. Yeah, feel free. I got you. And Junior, thank you so much. I learned many ways of how to solve a proportion fast. Right on. Let's go. Again, I'm telling you, man, if you take the time to learn these new methods, at first they look really weird. They look really funky. But once you actually see the sense inside of it, that it actually makes sense, then you might be more willing to adopt the idea and make it part of your practice. And that's what you really should be going for. You're absolutely welcome, man. Thanks for coming. Are you going to be live again tomorrow on YouTube? Elias, thanks for coming today. No, tomorrow's class is only for program members. All the classes are recorded. And so if you're in the program, it's going to be same time tomorrow, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., only on Zoom, not YouTube. And if you're in the program, it's recorded, made available to you. So again, that's how you'll get to class tomorrow. And we actually we officially hit the 500 class mark. So we have over 500 recorded classes, and they're all available in the program. Yesy, how's the science practice for your program? Also, word knowledge, do you have tests on your website? So to answer your question, for the general science, we have a 200 question practice test course with every question having an explanation to it. That's the extent of our general science practice. And then to answer your second question, for word knowledge, do you have tests on your website? Yes, we have part of the program is also an AFQT practice test course. You're going to have 6 practice tests for arithmetic reasoning, 3 for word knowledge, 3 for paragraph comprehension, and 4 for math knowledge. And they're each going to have explanations for all of the questions. Yep, yeah, 3 specifically for word knowledge. Yeah, to answer that. Cool, good question there. Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime. And Demi, I'm glad I was able to solidify the idea of proportions for you. It's a good day. Right on, guys. But yeah, at the end of the day, guys, remember, the decisions you make are going to drive the results that you get. So I'm a big proponent of if it's worth putting your time into it and you see the benefit of it and it's obvious, make the decision. But what I don't want is I don't want you signing up and thinking that signing up means that you automatically pass. You still have the work to do. I'm just making it as easy as possible. You still have to give the effort. So if you're struggling with finding times to study and you have a busy schedule, I expect you to reach out to me. Think of me as your teacher, your principal, and your guidance counselor all in one. I've had practice in 2 of the 3, and principalship is something that really anyone can do in terms of leadership. And I think that if this is my school, then I am the principal, essentially. So with that, that's right, Shaletta, excuse me. Shaletta, yeah, that's right. So just make sure to use this code right here for the year 150. I see that there's a space. It is not supposed to have a space. It's one word, all caps. Year, all caps, 150. So right here, Stella, or Shaletta, excuse me. Sorry about that again. But year 150. Yeah, and make sure to click the blue button that says redeem. Boom, it'll show the price drop, and you're good. Yes, it'll stay on YouTube for a couple of days. We always do that with our recordings. We'll keep it on for a couple of days, and then we may or may not take it down. Cool. Sounds good there. This is a great class. And so for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, for the 9 people that just signed up, make sure that you read the welcome email and the welcome text. That's going to make sure that you get started nice and smoothly. It's going to take you through the welcome checklist, how to access everything, how to find the classes and recordings. It'll just basically walk you through everything. So that way, the moment you're ready to study, boom, you know exactly what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to do it, and all you got to do is put in that time. I got you, Shaletta. So if you want, what I can do, Shaletta, since you've already signed up for the month, I'll let you still claim that discount code. And all I got to do is get your confirmation, and I'll be able. Yeah, if you give me your approval, I can basically remove the program from your account to allow you to get the full year. So if you want to private message me, so reply here to this private message, reply with your email, and I'll go ahead and remove the program from your account, the subscription, so you can then go right back and purchase the year. Just need you to reply with your email to confirm, and you're good. Yeah, CJ, you'll definitely have access to tomorrow's class. Yep, it's part of the program. Yeah, TJ Winners, I got you here, boss. Yep, you're good. Yep, just signed up. Perfect. 7 minutes ago. Welcome to the program, boss. So yeah, you'll be able to join tomorrow's class and every class for the full month, for 30 days starting from now. So the renewal date is the same date every month, the same day you signed up. So if you're done before the month is up, just make sure to cancel. That way you don't get charged again. Super straightforward. Perfect there. Perfect. All right, cool. So there's that. And then Shaletta, let me know if you're still willing to do that. I'm looking for a reply there, so I can do that for you. And then the 3 more people that just signed up, again, just make sure, go ahead and read that welcome email and welcome text message. That way you know exactly how to start. All right. And Dazaka, go ahead. If you want to shoot me a text, there's my phone number right over there. Go ahead and shoot me a text and I'll let you know exactly what you need. Just give me the branch. And you said information technology. I got you. Yeah, so okay, so Shaletta sounds good. Let me go ahead and do that for you right here, Shaletta. I got you. Thanks for confirming. I am unenrolling you from the subscription program right now. So Shaletta, boom, that just took you off. Feel free to go ahead with your same account, sign up for the year. You might need to refresh the page for the effect to take, but go ahead and go for the year, apply the discount code, and you're set. And Alexander, can we do the practice? Yeah, you're welcome. Can we do the practice on the website if we are still not registered? Alexander, do you have an account at all? Let me see. Yeah, you have an account on the website. Yeah, you already have my free practice test. So that's going to give you 1 practice test each for AR, MK, WK, PC, and GS. So you're good. Feel free. Use the practice test that's in your account. There are video solutions to every single question. So boom, you're good. Yep. And that's as far as the free content goes. The free class once a week, the free practice test, and then the content on YouTube. But if you want the more organized approach that brings everything together for you, the program is definitely the way to go. Great. So it was an absolute pleasure having you all in class today, my party people. Remember, we have to make sure that we're focusing on one day at a time, guys. It's so easy to get distracted when we focus on the grand scheme of things and we look at the tall mountain we need to climb. But remember that as long as we place one foot in front of the other, we can make that gradual progress. It's slow, it sucks, it's painful, but once you reach a certain point, you'll see that progress will be a habit, not a surprise. We want it to become a habit. So keep pushing through, putting in any time that you can. Put that in there, do your thing, and we'll ace the ASVAB at the end of the day, all right? So I love you guys. You guys have been absolutely amazing. Appreciate y'all. I will see you in tomorrow's class for those of you in the program. And if you have any questions at all, now's the time to take a screenshot of my phone number. Reach out to me if you have any questions at all. I got y'all, man. Love y'all. Ace the ASVAB. Happy Monday. I'll see y'all in Tuesday's class, guys. Cheers. AceTheASVAB.